Hello, everyone. Welcome to NFT Tuesdays. I am Mariangel from the Spanish community, and with me here is David from the French community.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. We are on the final stage. This is the last level of NFT Tuesday. And today we're going to speak about one of the biggest use case of NFT. Maybe we took it for the last one because it was this big. It's NFT inside gaming. So what is the level of this innovation? What are going to be the next use case about NFT inside gaming? And for today, we have a roster of incredible person. We begin with Alexander Leonard Larsen of Axi Infinity with a fire chat that is going to be led by Elsa Ramon. And then we're going to have a panel with a lot of projects that we know inside Binance. So the Sandbox, which was a previous IEO that we've done on the Launchpad. My neighbor Alice, that was on the Launch Pool previously and that has made a really good performance. We have also Neon District and Somnium Space that's going to pass, and we're going to do a channel. Do not hesitate to ask any question or any comment on NFT Tuesday on Twitter with the hashtag NFT Tuesday. Did I did it right, Marie-Andrelle?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be reading all the comments that you are sharing with us, and we are going to share them with our guests. So this is your opportunity to talk with this amazing guest that we have today. And
exactly.
Keep continuing interacting with us, because this is the winner list of the people that follow all the steps we shared last week, and they are earning these engine prizes. We're going to send them to them. And also you could be on the winner list too if you follow the next steps. Remember that if you're watching this and you are not registered on our Eventbrite page, you won't be participating for $2,000 on Axi's coin. So remember to register. You can use the QR code that is on the screen, and we will send you a short quiz via Eventbrite, and we will select 10 winners. And the winners will be announced via email on May 21st, and all the prizes will be distributed on May 28th. So this is your opportunity to enjoy this event and also win. So there are 2 tasks from now: participate, register, and send your questions on Twitter.
Exactly. So please sit down, relax, play some game at the same time. And we're going to begin the fireside chat with Alexander Leonard Larsen and Elsa Ramon right now. I think it's going to begin just right now. Thank you.
Hello, thank you both, David and Mariangel. Appreciate the nice introduction. My name is Elsa Ramon. I used to be a television news, I guess you would say, presenter, anchor in the United States, but I left for this space, and I am learning just like you, all of you. So thank you for joining us. But I feel like one of the stars of today's panel is Alexander Leonard Larsen of Axi Infinity. And Alexander, it's so great to meet you. I'm quite honored to meet you and everybody on today's panel, and really eager to start the discussion about not just the fun that NFTs can bring into gaming, but there seems to be a bit of a social impact, but we'll get to that in a minute. Why don't you talk a little bit about yourself first?
Thank you, Elsa. And not bad for saying my name almost completely right. So that's impressive. No, I'm very happy to be here. My name is Alexander. I am one of the co-founders of Sky Mavis. We're the company that's behind Axi Infinity. I also serve on the board of the Blockchain Game Alliance. So I've been working in the blockchain gaming space since early 2018. We were building all throughout the bear market, and now we've started to see some tremendous impact with our game, and I guess that's what we're going to be talking about today as well.
Yes, absolutely. I've noticed, really only because I have an 8-year-old son who has taught me a lot about his gaming, but I've noticed in just reading all of the information that is out there about NFTs that this isn't just all about fun. This has become a social movement, a financial opportunity. It's quite a bit to say NFT because it means so many things. In fact, according to Statista, which is a service that keeps statistics, gaming in 2020 was $131 billion global industry. And really that money has largely benefited the gaming companies, of course, from people buying, in-app purchases and skins and things and whatever in their games and whatnot. But what does it mean when we say NFTs will transform the gaming industry as we know it? Because I feel personally that transform means many different things to many different people. What is your take on that?
Yeah, so when we started building Axi, it was because we felt that NFTs were going to change the way that games were being played forever. And a lot of that was about the ability that it gives to the players to actually join in on the value that's being generated within the game world that they are participating in. And what we've discovered over time is that NFTs also enable like significant network effects within games. So people, they become more engaged and they actually become more confident in spending money when they actually own their game items, when they are stored as NFTs. And the great thing is that this is not something that we say without proof. We actually have tangible proof in Axi, especially when you can see that how much people are willing to spend on assets that aren't necessarily yield generating, for example. But yeah, it's quite outstanding to see the impact that it's had already. But for NFTs in particular, I can say that it's much more natural for them to be in games than it actually is in art, because it's so clear for gamers that if you own an NFT, well, that means that you can use it within the game. It's much more unclear if you actually own an art piece, what it is that you can do about it, for example. But in games, it's just very clear.
Yeah, that seems to be a challenge when trying to explain to people who haven't read anything about this that there is actual value in something that is digital. Now, I don't have to explain that to my 8-year-old son and kids of all ages in between and adults too. But is it a challenge for you to try to explain that there is such value in this?
Not actually, because gamers are so used to this from beforehand. I think what they
but
aren't
people
used
outside of the gaming world.
Actually,
that's what I find some trouble trying to explain, that there is value.
Actually, I don't really care too much to explain to people who aren't gamers, because the gaming market is so massive anyway that they actually have to recognize us. And I think that's so great. I mean, I've been a gamer my entire life. And in the end, we just see more and more people growing up. They play games their entire lives. They live within games. And that's happening in Axi now, just that kind of the taking it to the next level, where they are now earning tokens that are actually kind of a part of the giving them part ownership of the game world. So I'm incredibly excited to see where that will lead down the line.
Well, I think we've already seen some evidence of how much the NFT world and games like Axie Infinity can have a major impact on communities. I remember last year, during the thick of the pandemic, I read an article on, I believe it was Coinbase, about how Axie Infinity really transformed a community. It wasn't just a game to this small community in the Philippines where many of the people already lived hand to mouth. And then when the pandemic hit, they lost their way to earn their daily income until Axie Infinity. That story, when I read that last year, struck me so deeply because it gave the people in this small town in the Philippines a way to benefit financially by being part of the Axie Infinity community, and for their whole community to be part of this. That seems to be a huge impact beyond what people might see on the surface as just playing games. Do you foresee that happening in other communities as well?
Yeah, I think.
If you want to give a little background on what that was, that story was in the Philippines, where people were able to make some money.
Yeah, I think it's actually related to how we are designing the game economy in Axi. So from the beginning, we've been very clear with the way that we are structuring things, that we don't overinflate, for example, the axes that are in existence. And that also goes for the kind of the assets that players can earn. One of these assets is it was called a small love potion. Now it's called a smooth love potion. But that was kind of the beginning of that whole ride, where people started to realize that, hey, I can actually live by playing a game and earn this token. And the reason why this is possible is because rather than us selling game characters directly to players as a game developer, as other game developers do that aren't necessarily in the blockchain space, we are actually sharing a part of the value that's being generated within the world. Now, what that means is that whenever a person wants to buy an Axie, they actually have to buy one from the marketplace that has been created by a player. And for a player to create a new Axi, they need some of these small love potions, and they pay us a small fee. So both the game developer and the player is taking part in this value that's being generated within the world. And that's been incredibly powerful, because as the network grows, we get more players, and they come in, they want to earn tokens, they want to start collecting Axis. Then it's kind of this self-reinforcing cycle. So that's when we started seeing that people started living inside the game. And it really made us understand the potential for something like Axi and how big this can actually become, because we're solving much bigger problems than I think anyone actually realized. It's almost about universal basic income and what it means to create a digital nation. And I think that's really what we're doubling down on as a game developer, and kind of, rather than just going on the scale of decentralization, right? There is maybe one part of it that's only putting NFTs or skins on the blockchain. And then you have the other side of it where you want to put everything inside the game on chain, where that means also the ownership of the game itself. And for us, that's really when you can unlock the most potential from a game developer, and where the pie will become massive. But we as game developers, we maybe don't own everything, but that's just a part of it. And that's what gives it the most value. Sorry, you are muted.
I apologize. I didn't want the outside noise to affect your explanation. But speaking of what you were talking about, you alluded to the Smooth Love Potion, which I thought was kind of a cool name. People who are responding to today's NFT panel in my Twitter responses were having fun with the name Smooth Love Potion. But I've also seen people in the community, beyond loving the name, wanting to know when they're going to be able to exchange some of the SLP that they still have. I understand that there is some complication doing that because of the high gas fees on the Ethereum blockchain. And for some who are earning somewhat of a living on this, or making ends meet this way, are having a tough time doing that because the gas fees outweigh what they may have actually earned. A lot of people had questions about that in my responses. So what do you have any answers for them as to what is going to happen in the future with that?
Yeah, so we are in the middle of a major infrastructural upgrade that has been in motion for, I would say, over a year, and where we are moving parts of the Axi infrastructure over to a sidechain so that there will be no more gas fees for players. I mean, at one point, I think over 200,000 USD were leaked to Ethereum miners every week, which is absurd when you consider just how much money that is for a community of gamers. So right now, players are playing on our sidechain, which is called the Ronin network. And there are no gas fees. But the problem there is that they need to enter Ethereum and then deposit to Binance. And then there is the small love potion token on Binance, which soon will be Smooth Love Potions on Binance. So things are coming, but as in technology, especially when you're building on the bleeding edge, things have a tendency to take a little bit longer than we originally anticipated. And I think you're going to find that a little bit later in the discussion too, as you're talking to other game developers who have been building in this space for a really long time. Creating a quality game takes several years. And when you're building on something as bleeding edge as the blockchain, you really need to understand what it is that you're designing. So that means it's not only about creating that one game. A game is just one part of it. Everything that's around it, that's actually just as important. And by that, I mean the economy around it and the community and the players that are living and playing your game. You really need to respect that. And that's what we're trying to do with Axi. And that's also why we are moving things over to a more sustainable infrastructure so that people don't have to deal with gas fees. So, yeah.
Sure, especially if they're using this to supplement income. We see in communities like this small village in the Philippines, how it benefits them. But I would imagine NFTs would have different impacts on different communities around the world, say here in the United States or in Europe. Say like my 8-year-old son started playing, these games and earning money. It means different things to different people. How do you foresee the NFT world growing and adapting to the different needs of people all around the world? Will it kind of, cater to the demands of maybe people in the UK versus people in the US versus people in the Philippines? Or how do you see it evolving?
So in Axie, and I think in many different type of games, you have different classes of players or archetypes where some are playing just for fun. Like they actually love the game. They wanna play, they wanna compete at the highest levels. And it's not necessarily about earning tokens. And then as you kind of permeate the society of the nation that you're creating, you can see that there are people who are living off, for example, grinding. Like they only want to play because they want to get the token. And what generally happens in Axie is that if the people who come in to do that, they actually fall in love with the game and the community and everything that's around it. So I think it's our job as developers, even though we employ these growth tactics through issuing tokens, we still need to make sure that the end product is fun enough so that people are actually enjoying their time, so that you don't just get this very transactional thing where people come in, they play, they clock into work. It's like they're 9 to 5. Like that's not what it's about. It's about combining a game with like turning the game into real life, in a sense, like gamifying your life. And I think when you are mixing real economies with games, that's when you can see something magical happen, like we started to see in Axie.
You brought up a point about it being, it's a fun game and being more than a game. I think before I had my son, and many people who have kids, daughters, sons, enjoying gaming and playing with their friends, and I watch my son form alliances on his games, and I feel like, and he strategizes, and I feel like there's so much more to it than just this game that he's sitting there playing on the computer. My parents, who are older, don't get that. They think he's just playing this game, but I feel like he's learning a bunch of valuable skills in addition to just playing this game about planning, strategizing, alliances, that kind of thing. But I never would have imagined before, the way this has developed, that somebody could have a whole career and maybe even go to school for gaming. And even my university, my alma mater here in Southern California, has developed a whole gaming platform and community for students at the university. How do you see that playing out in the future as far as gaming careers?
Yeah, so I come from actually the esports space. I used to compete at a high international level, and I think it's always been the dream for gamers to be able to live by playing games. Pretty much everyone has kind of been sitting there, oh my god, I wish I could just sit here, do this every day. I would love that. But the truth is that these old systems and these old games, they weren't necessarily designed like that. So you didn't really have the capacity, a lot of the capability. So for example, in esports, it's like 0.001% of the entire player base are able to live off playing these games. And even at the highest levels, it's maybe, let's say, 10 players who can afford to do that. When you are democratizing these new business models, actually, because that's what's happening, you are spreading the wealth across a much larger kind of player base. That's really where things get interesting, because then games can evolve from simply being games into virtual worlds. And that's really what's exciting to me. You can evolve into a meta universe where everyone is coming in there, they're playing different games and then using their NFTs from various games inside a much larger kind of meta game. And I think that's incredibly exciting, but we're a couple of years out from that kind of utopian world. But things are moving quite fast, and NFTs are without a doubt the vehicle which will have a very big impact of the future, in my opinion. Oh, muted.
Sorry, that's the second time I do that. I hope I don't do it a third time. There's so much money pouring into the gaming industry. I gave you some of the stats: $131 billion global industry, and that was in 2020. In fact, some of the numbers that I saw predicting for 2021 were even larger than 2020. So I don't know that people can make the argument, well, it was the pandemic and people were stuck inside, so of course gaming made so much more money than it would have normally. That's not what I'm seeing in some of the statistics that are already being released for 2021. The industry continues to grow. What do you see the potential for the gaming industry as far as earnings?
I mean, unlimited potential. The thing is here that we are moving into a digital future. I think everyone is on that is agreeing there, and the people or the dinosaurs of the olden ages, they just, I don't know, they don't fit into this new world, so they just need to move over, and people will be gamers for the rest of their, like from they are born until they die. I mean, that's what I think. So that's why I'm dedicating my life to building Axi and Sky Mavis, because I think that we can have a major impact on this new future. And that's why I'm so excited to be in the space. I think there are so many really, really smart younger people who have found their calling here, where they aren't being like judged by older generations who don't really know what they're talking about. So here it's just us. We can do what we want, and we will, I think, change the world. I'm convinced of that.
So what would you say to aspiring gaming kids, people who are watching us now, talk about the future of gaming, the exciting potential, not just monetarily, but for the games themselves and the opportunity that it could potentially bring to so many communities and people to help bridge the gap in their economies? What do you say to kids, young ones who are up and coming and watching us right now, about getting into a gaming future, and in what capacities they would get in?
I mean, it depends on what you want to do, right? I mean, if you want to be a game developer, it's a very like brutal industry, I would say. It's hard to succeed, but it's very rewarding. I think there are opportunities in the new kind of NFT space for those who are willing to put in the effort to meet the right people, and to just find the right communities to involve yourself in. I mean, in Axi, we have several guilds and teams who are looking for players, and you don't even have to pay. Like, if you can meet the right players to join a community, and then maybe start earning some tokens and taking it from there. I think the most important thing that you have is your passion and your energy to just kind of push things forward, and don't take no for an answer. That's it.
Absolutely. I'm sure we have a lot of aspiring gamers and coders and everyone in between watching this right now. So it's nice to hear that there is definitely a bright future that could potentially serve everyone in some capacity if they really do have a passion for this. And I know so many people do. I'm sure, Alexander, you've seen people on social media. I've seen people on social media, their whole lives are dedicated to this. So the potential, you're right, is just endless. And we have people on our panel today that I'm really excited to get to know personally, because I've seen them on social media and the things they do, and I just find it incredible. So I'm really excited to hear from them. And I'm also equally excited to hear from some of the people who have questions in the audience as well. Are we going to?
Yeah,
I guess have a little bit of time. Do we still?
Have a little bit of time? I do think we have a little bit of time.
Oh, good. Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody had a little bit of extra time to be able to ask their questions in the panel, to be able to interject. But if I wrap this up a little early, we can still continue discussing. That would be great. I'd love to learn more.
I think this is a good question about the limitations of NFTs in games. So I'd love to answer that just at a higher level. Like, why? I think one of the challenges that we see in the NFT space right now is that there isn't really that much content for NFTs. And by that, I mean that every NFT kind of needs a home. If you don't have anywhere you can use it, then it's kind of useless. It is useless. So that, I guess, is one of the most kind of basic limitations. Then if you just have an NFT, someone's going to have to make a use case for it. In art, well, that's a little bit more unclear. Maybe some artists can send you some stuff if you own their NFT. But in games, like if you have a game NFT, but there doesn't really exist a game asset, like game for it, then you really just don't have anything. You're just a kind of a bag holder and waiting for that game to be released. So that's without a doubt one of the kind of major limitations. But on the bright side, if you do own an NFT for a game that hasn't been released yet, there is a significant upside, and there is always massive potential for that game to actually become big. And that's some of the kind of the democratization in these in this NFT space, where you can actually buy something early and then join in on the potential very large upside of some of these games. And I think that's incredibly exciting.
There is inherent risk in that, though, correct? I mean, it is in a way a bit of a gamble, but the upside, you said, is enormous.
Yeah, I think with everything that you do in life, there is inherent risk. I think everyone needs to be aware of that. But I mean, those who are in the crypto space are generally a little bit, I would say, not as risk averse as the older generation, but of course, do your own due diligence whenever you are researching into things. But I think a lot of people need to be careful when they are investing in NFTs. Is that as I said, it takes a long time to build a game asset or to build a game in itself. And if you're buying into some kind of NFT project which is promising that they're going to deliver everything in a very short period of time, that should also be a red flag. So look for the right kind of teams and for the players who have experience building something. And I think then at that point you will be positively surprised. At least that's what happened in Axi with some of our assets.
Well, sure. And of course, the people who saw your potential are, I'm sure, quite happy. It's enormously popular for so many different reasons. But how would you suggest people go about researching that? Because I know that when people saw that this panel was going to be about NFTs today, there were people shilling so many projects in all the responses to today's panel about, people should invest in this and invest in that and invest in this. And there's a lot of hype because the potential is so big for people to win in all ways. But if you're someone who's just getting into this space, where do you suggest they start when they start learning about NFTs?
I mean, I think Axie Infinity is the best place to start. Of course, I would say that. The reason for that, really? And the reason for that is very simple, because then you can see how it should be done. Like if you can look at the token economy for a specific project and see that things are transparent, things are obvious for those who are investing in that project. Like there is a set amount of tokens that are in circulation, for example. These are very basic things for like standard like token projects. But in NFT country, people aren't as used to looking at the total supply of a specific NFT, for example. So you need to be very careful what it is that you're buying into. And I think that's where it makes sense to look at some of the more successful projects that have been around the block a time or two, because then you can compare. Okay, do they have people in Discord, right? Are people active? Or is this just a bunch of shilling Twitter robots, for example? Or can you find other human beings in there who are creating value for that project? Are they creating like let's say tools for other people to look at? Are they creating artwork? Are they speaking positively about the project, even if they don't have especially like monetary stuff to sell you? Are people trying to sell you something that's kind of weird? Like these are all red flags. And the way you can see that is very easily by comparing to some of the projects that have been around for a long time. And I think Axie is the best place to find a game that's been successful. I mean, right now, there are over 50,000 daily active users who are playing the game. I mean, the volume is leading the NFT kind of marketplaces. So I think I do have some background for when I'm saying this.
Yes, I absolutely think you do. And you're a very safe bet as well. How have you seen Axie impact other communities, aside from the obvious one that has been profiled in the Philippines? Have you gotten any other feedback from other parts of the world about how people, how receptive they are and how they've utilized Axie?
Yeah, so what we started seeing in the middle of even early 2018 is that people started building games on top of Axie very early, and that's a very positive sign. And these are very like global communities, I would say, but our ability to tap into developer communities, I think, is a big part of why we were successful. Because when you get developers who are building on top of your network or your game, that's incredibly bullish from the start. But like more like geographically speaking, you could say Venezuela is of course like places where they don't have bank accounts, for example, where they are excited to earn a little bit of money or tokens just by interacting with the game. That's really where we found the most product market fit. And then you will find that as the game is growing and we get more and more players, it actually builds the confidence of the entire game. So that means that you get more players that might not be from, let's say, Western countries, but then that builds the confidence of those who are from Western countries because they see that this is becoming a success. So they actually want to spend more money at that point. And I think that's also a really good way to judge a project. Like, is it growing, are people actually buying some of the more expensive assets? So you can't just have like only click robots, so to say, that aren't buying anything. There needs to be an ecosystem around what it is that you're creating. And the truth is that it takes time to build something with quality. You can't just make something. You can't just fork off Axie in a day, for example. That would be impossible because we've been building for over 3 years now, and it's kind of that Bitcoin thing. Like you can fork Bitcoin many times, but it's not the same. Like Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin. I mean, it's the same thing.
So it sounds like Axie is, we've talked about this already, that it's much more than just a game, but it also seems like there are so many other benefits too into approaching gaming like this and NFT gaming. It's an educational platform. People learn some new skills. It's a community. It's a social network. Do you foresee a lot of other social networks outside of the gaming industry kind of going in this direction, becoming, like you just said, an ecosystem?
Yeah, for sure. I think it makes perfect sense to use NFTs for this. I think, what I believe in is that everyone should own their digital things, like whatever it is you do online. And that might be let's say if you're on a social network, everything you do, that belongs to you. In a game, that means you should own the game items, you should own your money inside your wallet. Like, actually, the thing that's happening in games is just it's happening a little bit earlier than everywhere else because everything is digital already. So yeah, excited to see when people start using NFTs within social networks. And it's already happening. People are using their NFTs to signal value and to signal that they belong to a community. And that might be Axi or other kind of art communities where you need to have a specific art piece or whatever else they might have.
How do you see those communities, though, connecting? Do you see them connecting instead of being their own private ecosystems and communities? Do you see some kind of cohesiveness between different ecosystems?
It's a little bit. I can say that there is a divide within the NFT space for sure. Where you have kind of the art crowd on one side and maybe the game side on the others, but there is some mingling there. But for sure, the art crowd, I think I didn't predict that the art NFT hype would be so massive as it was. I thought that games would actually come first.
Yes, yeah, I could see why you would think that, but I think I just little hints here and there of why you would think that. But I think now, I know earlier I jumped the gun a little bit and tried to bring in the panel early because I wanted to make sure to give them a little time. But I think now we're at that point. If I'm mistaken, please let me know. But where we're going to bring in the panel, hear from them, and maybe hear some of the questions or talk about some of the things we talked about first. And I believe we're at that time. I don't want to rush anybody, but Alexander, is that the consensus here?
Yeah, that is. Thank you, Elsa.
Oh, Alexander, thank you. And thank you for teaching us so much about this space. I really appreciate it. Hi, David.
Thank you, both of you, Elsa. I think your cat needs to be fed.
This is why I kept muting because he won't.
No, that's cool.
I know he hates when the door.
You want to participate.
He hates it when he's shut out. So he's crying, and I'm thinking, this is the worst time you could be doing this. So yes, that's my.
No, he wants to participate to the gaming NFT, and I understand them as well.
He wants to sit on my computer. That's what he wants to do. So I apologize for him. He's very.
No worries at all. Thank you so much, guys, for all the information that you shared with us. It was very amazing. We have been watching the conversation on YouTube and Twitter, and the community is very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Very honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander Leonard. Thank you, Elsa. Let's go to the next stage.
That's right. So if you want to continue participating, don't forget to use the hashtag because Twitter has been sending us a lot of questions here. So continue interacting there.
Yeah. Really a lot of activity inside the social media channel. I thank all the community for that. We're going to go to the next stage with the panel. So we're going to welcome the team of Sandbox, my neighbor Alice. You know all those operations. They were inside Binance. And also the team of Neon District and Somnium Space. So hello Coin Artist, hello Arthur for your participation. Hello Anna, hello Sebastian. You're going to hear 2 times French today because Sebastian is also a French speaker.
Yes.
It is amazing to have you all here.
Bien. It's a pleasure to be here with you, everyone. Hello.
Hello,
hello.
In order to do a little bit of a round table, can you all introduce yourself in 1 or 2 sentences in order that we a little bit and all the audience know who you are? Of course we know, but it's always good to summarize a little bit.
All right,
Anna, would you go first?
Yeah, me. Sorry, I didn't hear. Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Norvik. I'm the CEO of Antler Interactive. And Antler Interactive might be the most known for our recent project, My Neighbor Alice, that we're currently working on, that had its ICO in March. And yeah, that's about me.
Welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, I think next is Sebastian. Let's follow the order on the pictures.
All right. So, hey everyone, my name is Sébastien Bourget. I'm the CEO and co-founder at The Sandbox, which is a gaming virtual world on the from blockchain that is empowering creators and players through the use of NFTs. We'll get to talk about it today. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which is a non-profit organization that now counts over 200 members from the blockchain gaming industry and pushing to promote the adoption of this technology within the video game industry, as well as showcasing all the great things our members are doing in the space.
Amazing, welcome.
Hey everybody, Marguerite from Blockade Games. We're working on Neon District, which is a cyberpunk RPG. We're building on Polygon currently, and if you've been paying attention, Polygon's not having a bad day. And we also we've been in this space since 2018. I've been a creative tech developer in the blockchain space since 2014. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here with everybody.
Polygons that just surpassed Ethereum today in number of transactions, right?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur. I'm founder and CEO of Somnium Space, a virtual reality platform where the economy and the ownership of all the items and experiences is based on the blockchain. Happy to be here.
This is definitely the most interesting interview in terms of the backgrounds and the presentation. Okay, guys. So we have a few questions from the community and from us, but we would like to start from the basics on what do you think that is the future of NFTs in the regular gaming world?
Yeah, I would love to start answering that question because my background is very much from the regular gaming world. I worked at Paradox Interactive before I joined Antler Interactive. And we were making VR games, AR games, mobile games before we went into blockchain games. So yeah, I have some thoughts around that. We'll try to keep it short still. So I think there is a lot of potential for NFTs in the regular gaming world. For example, I think that connecting different items in games to the winners in competitions, for example, in games like Counter-Strike, where there is a lot of esports tournaments, where it's actually interesting to know where there's a big following of the people who are the best. I think that could be really interesting to know. For example, like this weapon was used by Heat on winning this competition, and then it probably gets a bigger inherent value in selling it to the next person. So that's one thing that I'm thinking of for the future. But I also think that it can be used in many other ways, like RPGs when you have swords. I think that's an example that often comes up in these kind of discussions, but a sword that can be used X number of times and then it's actually done, and you keep track of it on the blockchain, and that will also affect the value of the actual item. And I think what's needed for a lot of these things to get into games, regular games, is that the bigger players also start to realize that there is a lot of potential here, even for big regular game companies to adopt blockchain.
Nice, thanks. I don't know if anyone else have a comment on this.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. I agree with that, and I also want to echo Alex's statement that NFTs have to have a use case. Without a use case, they're useless. And I think the future of NFTs in gaming, and I think in general, if we talk about any digital item which is being produced or created right now, they'll have to be one way or another used in some form and actually be useful to their owners. Otherwise, they're useless and they will not have any value. And we believe that majority of people within the next 10 years will be using them in VR, but that's another topic we can discuss later. But in general, use case. It's the number one. This avatar I'm wearing right now is an NFT. And this is very useful to me because, I'm wearing it and it's my identity. So things like this will have a tremendous value for people in the future, and they have already value today.
Can I just say something on that note? So Arthur, are you familiar with the coingecko?
Sorry,
Yes.
Once again?
Yeah, the coingecko, she's a virtual influencer that wears a suit. Are you wearing a suit
Right
now?
No, I'm not wearing a suit. What I'm doing is I'm wearing a VR headset with a controller with finger tracking. You should see it right there. And I'm wearing 3 trackers. One is here, one is there, and one is there. And all I'm wearing right now has costs less than $1,500, and everybody who buys this tech can use it in some new space from day one for free.
Oh, I'm gonna do that.
You should let me know. I can help you. It's a very easy process, and then you can.
David, we need this for the next live stream.
I need this setup. I'm a huge geek. so like this.
DM me. I'll let you know what to do.
Of course, thank you. Thanks. Sebastian, do you want, or Marguerite, do you want to add anything to this question about the future of NFT in gaming? What is going to be ahead? Your opinion is important as well.
I sure can go ahead. For me, like it's really the paradigm shift that true ownership by players is introducing. It's not yet broadly accepted within the game industry, which is like still an industry running essentially on free to play, with, as we mentioned before, $120 billion of revenue annually, 50% of it coming from free to play games, actually 3% of user monetizing. These are exploiting users selling non-limited elements that have no real utility outside of the game itself. So there is a huge potential still to move the industry into a more community-first approach, community-driven, putting the players first at the center of the economy, both contributing to it and being rewarded to it. And that means a lot of use case behind what original developers are thinking about in terms of like how the community of players or creators can engage with them using NFTs. Could be definitely through game items, but could be so much more. Could be through the capacity to trade those NFTs on external marketplaces and generating a real income for the players through play to earn. Could be the capacity to build a whole ecosystem around the NFTs, where the NFT are the medium that are used to enable guilds, to enable DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization, where players are organizing themselves, participating in the governance around using the NFTs and on the gameplay itself potentially. Could be about using the NFTs to create decentralized finance system where you can loan the NFT, you can rent the NFT to other users, and introduce a lot of new use cases that have been much beyond what the original game developer or the platform have originally thought about, and empower essentially the users behind.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think most of us here are all building immersive platforms on some level with a encompassing economy, in which I think many of us have visions for microeconomies to exist within those macro game economies and universes. And what's neat about that is people could start up their own virtual businesses. And like Sebastian was talking about, DeFi and these other tools that we're building, the platforms that are existing today for us, but they're not immersive in the social way that like having the game assets and these collections and these identities are very exciting for people. And so when you start tying that into their larger economies, their businesses, their communities that they, everyone's hanging out in Discord all the time or Telegram 24/7, crypto doesn't sleep. So the more we can add to the experience, I think that the crypto economies essentially and gaming, they're just going to blur, where people think of avatars and they think of crypto, and you see this today, the art movement. Everyone's obsessed with all the varieties of avatars we can have. And now the only path forward from there is giving those avatars utility.
And they have utility in virtual worlds, essentially. Like today, Archer is showing us, but other virtual worlds are also low. That avatar could actually be used across many of those centralized virtual worlds, which is the beauty of NFT interoperability.
Yeah. Just to add to the point, because we on the NFT Tuesday we had the artist point of view, etc. And you spoke about creators. That's really good, because it leads to my next question. What is the real impact that's gonna exist on the creators economy? We saw some gain when you can create your own level, you can create your own object, and now you spoke about RPG. Thank you. Like, I'm a huge fan of it, but for you, so what is going to be the new place of those creators inside game, and what NFT will give them the possibility to do more than they were able to do?
If I may answer this question, I think what we are teaching and showing people today is the fact that they learn how, that they own things for real. That has never been done before. I mean, I've been in virtual worlds since 1999. Like, I started with Ultima Online. If anyone is old enough, remember Ultima Online. That where I started. I moved to Second Life, and I've seen it basically all or many of the worlds, and I've seen the rise and fall of many of them. And eventually, companies, they were becoming, too big, and they started to do mistakes, and the centralization of the economy was one of the pillars which was falling down always, which led to for the game to stop existing, or people not caring, because players, they eventually, in any game today, in any game you play, you don't own anything as the player. You have zero control over your possessions, and that is one of the not the most important, or one of the most important lessons which people learn. And once they understand that, oh hey, suddenly I own the item, I own this avatar, and Somnium cannot take it from me. It's in my wallet. The wallet has nothing to do with Somnium. So that is a very important lesson. And once people understand that they can trade those items independently, they don't need to ask me as the CEO of Somnium a permission to trade an avatar with each other. They don't need to ask me, permission to set the price for this avatar, or to bring it to the other metaverse, or to the other world, or have another utility. That's the beauty of it. And once people realize that more and more, people start to, first of all, trust the system much more, and second of all, they start to invest and create more. And of course, us as Somnium, we're trying to build the future of human communication, and the creators' economy is in front of all of that. People will create, people will consume, and people will have utility, have fun. It will bring the value.
I'd like to add to that. Basically, we're all about user-generated content at Sandbox. I spent the last Sandbox in our franchise that exists for over a decade. Started on mobile, had 40 million downloads, million of active creators who made 70 million creation. All of that content contributed to the success of the franchise, but because of the limitation of the platform, no existence of ownership, of revenue sharing, we were able to pay nothing to those creators while they all made the success of Sandbox. So when we start seeing the first NFTs appear, we immediately see the benefit of combining user-generated content and NFTs, so you can own your creation, you can start trading them in a permissionless manner, you can start monetizing them, and we are building this decentralized virtual world that is Sandbox with this vision that all the content is made by the users and is owned by the users. All the land that makes our virtual world is owned by them, and they can develop it, resell it if they want, create their own business, their games, their experience, their art galleries, their museum, and so on. They can essentially also create the wearable, design their own fashion for the avatar, and going even further into the open metaverse spirit, they can take NFTs that comes from other creators, let's say the CryptoPunks, the Meebits, or other collaboration that we have announced or will announce, and take them and use them as their identity into our virtual world or other virtual world as well. That's unlimited creation. It doesn't need to be onto one single dApp or on one single platform to actually as the big vision around NFT and metaverse. And that's something really interesting and unique.
And I think it's also giving people, creators, one more incentive to create within the games, and which I think is great, because then they help the whole world on becoming more interesting and engaging for themselves and other players. On My Neighbor Alice, we're planning to eventually add an in-game NFT creator, so that you can create the things that you want to put on your piece of land, and feel that it's yours and tailor-made for you. And then being able to eventually, when you feel done with your plot of land, you can sell it to someone and have them continue to take care of it forever.
And I think we're seeing a lot of difference, since it's still so early. We've seen from that 2018 games that started there, which Sandbox, a lot of us were there. People have really honed in on certain verticals, skill sets of player types, and some of them including strategy over land investment, or your crypto economies, and how do you make your way forward in those finances. But I think a vertical I'm really interested and passionate about is how do we inspire play and fun at a de-risked opportunity for people. So while there are some games where there's a little more expensive of an entry into the game and to the economy, I really love the idea now, and I'll talk about Polygon here, because so recently being able to do airdrops, where someone can have different ways to claim their NFT that's been airdropped to them, and it's all paid for on the back end by the developer or the person offering the airdrop. We did an entire campaign to about 2,000 people where it only cost $1, and 78% of those people were the first time they made new wallets in order to claim an NFT. so when you think about how many people are floating around on our different social channels, like Twitter, that maybe they're listening to the NFT conversations, but they've never even picked up an NFT before. Maybe they don't even have any crypto. That barrier is actually a pretty big leap still. So how do we get NFTs into people's hands? And then how do we give them an opportunity to go create value with it? That I feel like that next step has to be so easy and fun for them to even want to it, because it might not be very valuable, but the fact that they have something to play with now and it's been gifted to them is a really great user experience. So we have, I think, a lot of different verticals here to explore and develop in for different player types. But that's, I guess, where I'm really passionate is how do we basically create this whole new global economy of creators?
Give them tools for people. No, I mean, we see it clearly. You give people tools and you create a working economy, and people start to use it. People start to use it and people start to utilize it. They become creative. And if there is, economy or being able to make money is not the most important part of it, but it's important enough, without which it cannot, the metaverse cannot exist. People have to be able to, sustainably earn money living by being creative. And if that's the case, and they have enough tools to do so, they will do so. And we see it day to day. And Sebastian said in Sandbox, they've seen it before. They will see it, in the future. The same is happening in some new space. People want to be creative. People, what this kind of places allow people to do is, no matter where they're from, if they have, they have access to basic equipment, they can be whoever they want, and they can utilize their talent no matter where they're coming from. And because, blockchain is such a revolutionary technology, which will allow people to participate in the economies in the world without asking permission of any government. So no matter where you are, you can just participate in that economy. That's the revolution. That's the revolution which will lead many, many, many people to be in those worlds. And the economy will turn around several times.
That is amazing. Thank you guys for your answers. I have a few questions from the community here. So we'll also like to give them time to answer to the people that is contacting us via the hashtag on Twitter. And the question that I have right here says, how could you guarantee the property of digital assets? I mean, you create it, you sell it, but what guarantees the owner that the creator will not sell the items to be used in another platform?
No, it's super easy, and there where the market forces, open market forces come into place. Because even if you're a creator, and let's speak for our creators of avatars in Somnium, for example, you build name, and if you start working against your name as the creator, you will lose your clients. It's super easy. Capitalism works, and people will choose. So even this example, I mean, there are other ways how to make sure that things work as they intend to work. But even if we forget about those technical tools, just on a market personal level, if you start doing bad things to your clients, you will lose those clients and you will not earn anything in the future. Very simple, because everything is traceable. Everything is you can find it, and people will find out very quickly. People are not stupid.
Thank you. Somebody else have something to add? Okay, if no, what's the next question, David?
Well, excuse me, I was muting. So we see a lot of different type of NFT inside gaming. I see a lot of metaverse as well. Arthur is showing us one with an avatar, etc. I see a lot of games that you can buy a parcel, such as Inside My Neighbor Alice and Block. Could you explain us a little bit how this works? What are the mechanisms behind them? What is the interest to own like a land inside your game or inside any game in particular?
Yeah, so we're actually soon going to have a land sale, the first land sale in My Neighbor Alice. So people will need to stake, and that's going to start very soon. We're working very hard right now to make the system work so that you will have to stake like 20 Alice tokens during 14 days in order to get a lottery ticket, in order to have a chance to buy land in Alice. And what you get with that land is a land plot in an area called Nature's Rest, and the whole game is divided into a map of a handful of different areas with different attributes. So this is just the first one with a certain amount of attributes. So it's, I think, Nature's Rest is one with a bit cooler climate, forests, and that kind of place. And when you have that land, and when we have released the game, since we haven't released the game yet, you will be able then to decorate your land in whatever way you want. You can rent your land out to other players and therefore get the currency for that. And you will be able to, invite your friends, hang out with new friends in your land. You can arrange competitions and various things. So make it your own place and either rent it out when you want to take a break or sell it if you eventually want to get a new plot of land.
Yeah, I want to add one thing. Like, an easy answer to your question is, why would you want to buy land in virtual world? Because of this. Because all of that you see is built by players on their own land parcels, and you get a utility. It's useful to you. If you're an artist, you can build a gallery and you can showcase your art, like right there. If you are a DJ, you can build a club and DJ, like many DJs do in some of them. Like, it's utility. If something is not useful to you, don't buy it. Don't collect things just because you collect them. I mean, you can, but it's a questionable thing. But if you really want to have a utility, then think about it. Can it be useful to you? If yes, then do it. If no, probably don't. And when players ask me, like, what I think about land prices in Somnium and what is the future, I say, I don't care. And you should not care as well, because if you buy a land parcel for a use case, if it will cost $1 in the future, ask yourself a question. Will it be useful to you even if it costs $1? Yes, it will. You will be able to do the same thing. You'll be able to build a gallery. You'll be able to have your own place to hang out with friends in VR, to do a presentation or present a company. So it doesn't matter if it's cost $1 or $100,000. It's useful. But the trick is, if something is very useful to people and there is not enough of that because the demand is clearly higher than the supply, then the prices tend to go higher because more and more people want it and less and less supply is available. So yeah, make things useful to players and they will come and they will build incredible things, which I'm very honored and thankful for our community to be building here.
I guess, so instead of land in our game, it's a 2D game, and it's an RPG with a real clear ladder. It has a trading card game basically at its core and how the RPG works. And so for us, it's definitely more, how do we specialize assets that you're collecting to equip your character, the weapons you get, and just in any sort of traditional RPG that you might have experienced in Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Zelda, you'll be able to specialize the assets to become higher levels, but also they become more specialized in their use case. So you pick your different character types and they have a purpose on your team, the healer, the damage dealer, your tank. And you put this team together and you go out on your different missions, you compete PvP, and according to the different combinations you've put together means how the strengths and weaknesses your team will have. So it's not necessarily about being very, very powerful as much as it having a certain type of design that the player has put together, which you can have a multitude of and matched against other players, then have to use strategy to think about how they can best work their way through the match they've been put against. So I guess for us, land will be a very different experience when we get there. Right now, we're focusing on that economy.
Yeah, I can only echo what's been said before about Marguerite, Archer, and Anna. Like, there's differently in gaming multiple categories of NFTs: virtual real estate with land, equipment for characters, wearables for avatars, entities for creators that can also use them to populate their land. At the end of the day, it's really about the projection of the utility by use case, and also the fun you can get from it. And beyond the original purpose, like the first tier of audience who are going to use those NFT, you have to be part of the community and project whether those assets, those NFTs will make sense in their original context and potentially outside of their original context. Because again, NFTs is a whole ecosystem where originally useless NFT could become suddenly powerful by being used into other application, or then suddenly being pulled together, fractionalize and use those fractions to give access to something else that you consider of value, for example. There is really a limitless opportunity behind, and that's also where creativity shines and come not only from the original NFT creator, but how people are employing those NFTs much beyond their original scopes. That makes it a very interesting overall value proposition and allows many more user types beyond just players or creators in the space. We're talking the NFTs in gaming, but I do feel like NFTs is almost for anyone. Anyone can find a way to utilize them and build their communities around them, and hence potentially leverage their value in a way or another.
Amazing. Thank you for your comments. We have a few questions from the community too. I don't know, David, which one do you want to choose? Because there are many right here. Let me see.
Yeah, they're all great. I think we can speak about the skins and how it's gonna go. Like, so basically, inside those kind of game, we're gonna have more and more the possibility to create our own skin. What will be the limit of it? What will be the limit that's going to be imposed by the game about those kind of creation, about those kind of element? Anna, you spoke about the creation of weapon, for example, or attribute or element like that. Where do we begin and where do we end actually inside it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely should be the next step for these big companies to let people create their own weapons, for example. But I think also the companies realize that they will need to have some curation of what content they can have in their shops, for example, not too rude or not too inappropriate things. So I think what they could start with is still to hand over to the player a few different textures, a few different models, just so people can put together stuff that still feel creative enough, and then see what happens and see like what the community will do with it, and let it go and let a little bit of control go to the players.
Yeah, I think if you give people tools, and yes, I agree, there has to be in terms of like a small oversight in terms of what people create, kind of like a moderation. But moderation has been here for a long time, and I think it will stay. Because many people think that if we are in blockchain, or if we're entering the era of blockchain, that it means that suddenly companies don't need to obey to the laws, or the rules should not apply. No, that's contrary. Of course, blockchain doesn't mean anarchy. Okay, that people have to realize and understand. But other than that, yeah, I think creations of any kind, the more advanced tools we give to creators, the more advanced or the more advantage they take of them, and they start creating some crazy things, which even for us, it's hard to imagine, for all of us who are here. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's the beauty to come to the platform, which we are building, and every day see something new, which we didn't even expect that it will exist, but people did it, and other people enjoy it. It's a dream come true for creators and for everybody else.
Arthur, I have to say, you have the coolest design ever. Like, it's an NFT that is answering to me right now. It's like also a consecration, right?
Yeah, also
Thank you. I love this avatar.
Of all NFT series here.
Thank you. I love this avatar. I bought this avatar. Again, this is an example. Our creators have earned already, for a short period of time, have earned already more than $250,000 by selling avatars, just avatars. And they are putting this avatar was done in around about 40 hours of net work by an artist, by a creator. So when I bought it for 2 Ethereum, it's a no-brainer. Yes, it's a lot of money, but on the other hand, this is one piece of art, right? And this represents me. So how much do I value my representation, my identity inside the virtual world? Oh, I value it a lot, right? And that's why I cannot even imagine selling something like that. But that's why people pay money to actually feel good inside this avatar, because people get to know you like this. They see you. They get used to seeing you like this, and people like who am I speaking to often, they also know me like this already. So yeah, it's just, thank you for kind words, and I love this avatar. I always tell it to everyone, and they all know. Our community knows.
I think like the feature where we have an experience like this, where all of us are FOMOing in on his avatar, we could be live bidding and seeing the bids go in, and he could accept it on the fly if he wanted to look at his avatar. I think, and like even showcasing special effects, different things, I think that creator economy will happen. It is difficult though, we have to realize as game companies, we're dealing with so many extra things by being a blockchain game company. Most of us don't even have the bandwidth to field all of the income, like the inbound for community support, just basic like wallet questions. So us to then expand out these creative departments in which we could have basically a third-party art development system for people to submit art or creations to participate and fit into our economy is a big leap, stretch goal probably for all of us. And that was one of the reasons why Neon District did 2D assets, is because the fruit to then take a prototype into Photoshop, paint it, submit it meets our specifications. We can do this in a very easy automated way. You could have a designer line like this, and it could be completely automated, uploaded. Someone could do a 10 of 10, like a 10 of 10 limited edition run of something that already fits in our economy. It could be included in a loot drop box. So yeah, there's ways to do it. It's just going to take a lot of work. And we're still really early. I think people still haven't understood how early we are yet.
There's a few things I like to echo, like creator tools to be as simple as possible. We chose voxels, which are like 3D pixels, because of that. Like basically those sort of like digital Legos, and we've had a whole generation of Minecraft or Roblox player, 200 million users familiar with playing Legos and building Legos digitally and using them to turn them NFTs. That's really going to accelerate the adoption of NFT from the creator side. The other thing that I think NFTs are enabling, like they define their NFT, your identity, through how you look, what you own. So they are creating communities of ownership, bonding creators and owners. And one thing that they reflect very well is also this fan system, like super creator and fan connecting together. And one thing we are pushing towards that is to bring more and more brands on board to adopt NFTs, but with the right mindset in mind, like to have this mindset of like, I want to give a real utility to my community. I want to let them do stuff they will never be able to do in the real world, like create their own game, their own worlds, use my content, build their own stories, monetize it, share it with other users, come together into our lands and our experiences to socialize, to interact with each other. And it's a way to attract more and more users in the space, just like Marguerite has been doing herself, airdropping her NFT to 50,000 users. I think it's one of the largest airdrop we've ever seen. It should be in the World Guinness Record book, probably, for that. And really, like, giving an NFT to someone is the most empowering act, whether it comes from a single creator, from a brand or an IP, to attract more and more users by network effect behind, to really understand the gap between owning your asset or just renting them with virtual currencies and free to play. And that's how we are going to grow all together through our effort and the different products we are creating, an initiative we're having to lead to more adoptions of NFTs at the end of the day, I think.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, Marguerite, Anna, and Arthur, for all your experience shared today. And also, thank you to the community that was watching us.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks.
What a nice
was
opportunity.
Really good.
Yes, everyone who's watching needs to know that this is a lifetime opportunity to be so early and to have this chat with so many relevant people on the NFT ecosystem.
Yeah, and this is the final stage of the NFT Tuesday. So this was the last NFT Tuesday. Yeah, it was really a pleasure to do it. I want to thank everyone, the community, the people that participate. We had more than 30 experts. I have like just the fear right now just by speaking about it. Plus 179,000 viewers. I want to also thank the people on the backstage, the ones that you never see. For example, this one that is just right here.
Yeah, the Binance family is larger than you think.
Voilà. All these Binance families that is on the backstage, social media manager, event managers that planned all this NFT Tuesday with us. We gave 10,000 of prize that even the valuation exploded during those NFT Tuesday. And thanks to that, 1,000 of meetings by curious curators or even creators. So thank you a lot. This is only the beginning because we're going to enter into a new phase. You know that there's going to be a platform inside Binance that's going to be on the NFT. I think we're going to come back really soon with more even to speak about that. But this was really the appetizer, and to speak about this trend on NFT, really to give you all the knowledge before the big landing on this. So really thank you all. Marie-André, do you have anything to to add to this?
Yeah, a few reminders. The first one is that if you still want to be part of the list of winners, go to the Eventbrite page and register, because if you're watching this and you're not registered, you are not participating. So don't wait until this finished to do it now. And also other reminders are that Binance NFT community is larger than we think. We have even a dedicated community on Telegram. So if you go to Binance NFTs, you will be chatting with a lot of people that is passionate about this topic. And also we have another local communities, because if your main language is not English, don't feel afraid. You can go to our local communities and find locals that speak the same language as you, share the same passion as you, and just keep you updated with all the things that are happening on the community. So here are the links for the Turkish, Chinese, Indonesian, but there are too many other communities. Search for the French one, the Spanish one, Portuguese, and so on. Basically, most languages are supported by Binance, and where it is supported, there is a local community there for you. Also, we have other events happening regarding NFT, and this one that I'm sharing with you is from the Spanish community, because this afternoon on our Instagram, we are going to be talking about artists on NFT. So all the people right here is super famous. They have been on Forbes magazine. They are really leading the NFT movement. So they are, boom, they are on fire. So if you speak Spanish, don't forget to follow us and be part of this event at 7 p.m. GMT-4. And also follow your local communities. Thank you so much for being part of Binance NFT Tuesdays.
Thank you, everyone, and bye-bye.
Bye.